Welcome to this particular edition. I'm Eugene Anangwe, as always. Now, 2018. So major players, especially those in government and even in private sector, doubling their efforts to actually ensure that the Made in Rwanda campaign is actually seeing fruits. And of course, there have been concerns on to whether this is actually happening or working. But that is what we'll be talking about right here on the program. The aim is to actually try to increase the consumption and production of locally made products here in Rwanda and cutting down on the imports. We'll talk about that also here in the program on how that has happened. What we're doing is assessing the evolution of the Made in Rwanda campaign. And of course, who best to help us talk about this is Theonest, who's actually a spokesperson for the Made in Rwanda initiative at the Private Sector Federation. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Also with us is Sarah Matende, who's actually with Trust Industries, one of the leading manufacturers of household cleaning detergents and soaps in Rwanda. Thank you for joining us. And with us also is Daniel Hogan, co-founder at Thousand Hills Distillery. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, we've actually seen some success stories when it comes to how the Made in Rwanda campaign has been able to help Rwanda achieve some of those goals. I'll talk a bit about some figures. Exports have actually grown by 69% from 559 million US dollars. This was in 2015 to actually $944 million in 2017. Also, some good news is that in the first half of 2018, Rwanda generated $463.16 million from exports, which is compared to only $375.9 million the same period in 2017. But I want us to just take some time and look back where we're coming from. And I'll start with you, Theonest. 2015 is actually when we started seeing this kind of growth, the campaign starting to pick up. 2019, what can we say, or what can you tell us we've been able to achieve in terms of this drive?
For me, maybe the figures are good, and people are saying that we have reduced our trade deficit. We have now 36 reduction of trade deficit. For me, as a Rwandan, the main achievement I would say is that people have started talking about Made in Rwanda. Because actually, starting with 2015, people were thinking that it is just business as normal. You have people producing their goods as it's just producing. But actually, we have started understanding why we are producing. We are producing for our economy, to build our economy. And even the discussion which are going around now, the people are now starting maybe to be too much demanding because they have understood what is Made in Rwanda and the purpose of Made in Rwanda.
And they're demanding even for more.
And also one of the priorities of the Made in Rwanda policy was the mindset. And now I'm seeing that there are some changes on the part of the producers and also on the side of the consumers.
Right. So we'll talk about that mindset.
For me,
it's a topic.
For me, it's the key achievement because people have started now discussing. And the good things is like now we are now discussing Made in Rwanda. But back in 2013, people were not discussing it. So for me, this is the main achievement for me. The figures may talk about increasing, decreasing, but for me, the main achievement I may say is that people have started realizing that Made in Rwanda is real, it can work, and also it is needed for the Rwanda.
Right. I want you to park that for a moment, and then let's talk a bit about this. Sarah, Trust Industries coming into the industry here and saying, you know what, we're going to produce locally, soap detergents and other kind of soaps and toiletry. I'm trying to think, the perception when this manufacturing plant was being put up for that specific purpose, to produce locally here what most of the time we would import. How was it then during that period of putting it up? And then now, if you look at it from the perception that people had and what you see today?
Way back in, say, 2014, because that's when real manufacturing began, those production, yes, but then the perception was this is a locally made product. It's not very good quality. So how do I buy it? How do I trust it? How do I consume it? And yet I have something else that comes from outside. I trust the quality. I enjoy using the product. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, the change is immense. One, we have improved on our quality continuously so that we match what is imported and what the consumer expects so that the performance of the product meets the consumer expectation. And that helps a lot in terms of reinforcing the consumer's confidence in your product. Number two, availing the product to the consumer, because it's one thing to produce a good product, it's another thing to avail it to the market. If I avail it into the market and I also keep quiet about it, I don't make it visible, I don't talk about it, how is the consumer going to buy it? How will they know that I even exist as clear brand? The clear brand is in the market. If I'm sending the household to go to the shop and I tell them to go and buy soap, they'll buy any soap they get.
Yeah.
But if I specify that I want you to buy clear because it's made in Rwanda, then that makes a difference.
Right.
So there's a big difference. There's a mindset shift in terms of enabling people getting to understand why they have to buy made in Rwanda, and the manufacturer understanding why they need to produce quality. So that they can be able to meet consumer expectations.
Right, very interesting. So that means that on top of this campaign, there's also need for investing in actually brand awareness, pushing for the product. Talk to me about this, Ogan, because at the same time, you know, we're talking about liquor. Yes. And most of the time we have people who are selective and they'll say, me, I've been drinking this for the last 20, 30 years. And now someone is coming in and saying he's producing this from Rwanda and they want me to consume it. Why?
Well, we kind of look at it from this standpoint. If we take our, let's say example, we produce a whiskey, a gin, a rum, a vodka, a coffee liqueur. Now, if we just look at our rum and our coffee liqueur, which our coffee liqueur uses our rum. Our rum comes from the sugarcane that is grown locally here in Rwanda. We use all labor force here in Rwanda. Whereas if you're buying a bottle of rum that's been imported from, let's say, the Caribbean, all the jobs are over in the Caribbean. We're keeping those jobs here local in Rwanda. And that's one of the biggest things that we see for the Made in Rwanda moving forward, is local jobs and buying and selling things that are made in your backyard. And, you know, I think that this has had a huge global market uplift. And all of, let's say, the US, though Europe, everybody that says, okay, I want to buy local, I want to help support local. You know, if I travel, I'm going to go and I'm going to look for the things that are locally made because I'm interested in those. If I'm traveling, I'm going to try the local spirits. I'm going to try the local beers. I'm going to try whatever the local things are that they're making there. And I think that is exactly what is happening here in Rwanda. The Rwandese are looking at it and they're saying, we make good things. You know, it is no longer the thing of what, you know, things were people 5 years ago, 7 years ago, were saying, it's made in Rwanda. Is it quality? We had that when we started this initially, and I said, well, Coca-Cola is made here locally as well. It's quality the whole world over. It's just about implementing the quality standards. That was one of the first things that we looked at and we had to do. So we went to the Rwandan Standards Board and we said, we want S-Mark certification for all of our products. We've had it from the very beginning. You know, so I see it as it's an uplift for the local economy when the locals are supporting what is produced in their own backyard.
Right. And so coming back to Theodas, I mean, I'm trying to think, I mean, from 2015, the evolution of this Made in Rwanda policy to where we now have a policy that was finally launched here in Rwanda, that was in 2018. I'm trying to think, probably even our viewers are trying to understand, what are those things, the building blocks that have had to be put together to get us to where we are today, where you don't even care what they say about the Made in Rwanda products, but as long as they're talking about it. What are those things that have had to be made right?
But actually, when the government started the Made in Rwanda policy, people were thinking that is just a policy for the sake of saying that we have a policy. People didn't understand why they are doing it. Maybe they were saying it's a politician who are talking about Made in Rwanda. But actually, what they did, or what we did as Rwandan, because we were participating in those activities, first of all, we had to understand why we need to do Made in Rwanda. And actually, the producers that we have seen, the one we are together, themselves, they realized that if you are making a quality product, made in Rwandan product, you are not contributing only to the market or getting products, but you are contributing to the economy of Rwanda. And the people have been sensitized that they understand they are no longer just doing their own business, they're doing business for the country. And also people have started realizing that, by the way, if we are talking about 1,000 hills, if they are now using sugar canes which are now planted in Rwanda, someone from Europe comes and when he's visiting Rwanda as a tourist, he gets just 1 or 2 bottles of whiskey and you go back. And people have realized that people are now getting money from those kind of activities we are now doing. And from the people perspective where they are producers, consumers, they started realizing that Made in Rwanda policy was no longer that talking of politicians, but was impacting their life. And we remember last time, maybe when they took the decision of putting more taxes on chagua, second-hand clothes. People have been complaining, no, we are not going to get products for our market or whatever. But later on, people have realized that now, actually, now we have more than 7 textile plants in Rwanda, which are now producing for the market and also exporting. And the good thing is that those in textile, they use more people than others. But
the argument has always been, what qualifies to be called made in Rwanda, especially for the textile. In a country where there is not even an acre of the raw material, that is cotton. You know, most of it, 80%, is actually imported. So what makes it made in Rwanda? But actually, that is what some people have always been debating.
Every time I'm discussing with people who are saying that is not made in Rwanda, is whatever, I give them the specific example where we know that we have all phones. And when you go back, when you take your phone, you may say this is a Samsung from Korea. But actually when you go inside, you realize that it is a battery from Indonesia, whatever. But the main purpose of those companies, they want to maximize their profit. So they get where they got some parts which are cheaper than what they are producing. But actually when they are going to determine which is made in a specific country, they look at the share, they have value addition in that area. And actually, when we are talking about made in Rwanda, any product which has from 30% above, it is a made in Rwanda. But actually, for me, sometimes I say 30%, 20%, it doesn't matter. For me, when I'm saying that there's at least one Rwandan who has benefited as employee or a producer,
that it qualifies
actually should be happy.
Because
actually used to have people who are now consuming goods which are produced outside of Rwanda, which should have been produced here.
Locally.
So for me, maybe we will wish to have 100% locally produced garments or whatever. But what we are now doing is to build the value chain. Where maybe rather than importing tissues, we are going to import other materials, then we transform them ourselves.
Sarah, talk to me a bit about this particular perception. You know, at least the two gentlemen have actually spoken about this and said Rwandans have now believed and owned this process because they are seeing themselves as benefactors and the beneficiaries because they are benefiting the growth of their country when they consume local products. There are those who argue and say that we seem to be, you know, depending on the goodwill of the people at the expense of the quality of what we are producing. So we are putting the consumer, who is a Rwandan, we're crucifying them. We're telling them, you know what, you must consume this because it is made in your country, and so you have to support your country, whether it is good or not good. Let's demystify this mystery.
Okay, I'll go back a bit to the process of providing quality to the consumer. If we are going to have a Made in Rwanda initiative that succeeds, then we really need to look back and say, what does the consumer want? And when you look at what the consumer wants, it's not just about a need, that they need clothes made in Rwanda or they need tissues made in Rwanda. It's about the quality that meets the local standards that are set by RBS. And then also we are looking at the region. Are we just going to be a player in in Rwanda or in the region? So we look at the region and we say, if we are going to make tissues, let's make tissues that are going to satisfy the local market and the regional market. Now, getting back to what you're saying about perception, I think given that we are a landlocked country with a growing manufacturing sector, then we have this challenge of having more items imported, especially consumables. A lot of consumables imported. And so that's what I know as a Rwandan. I've grown up with Pampers made from Singapore or Malaysia or wherever. And that's what I understand and have enjoyed as a customer. And I understand that to be the best product. Now, if Sarah comes and tells me I have a pamper called Baby Do from Rwanda, I need to work double hard in terms of communication and convincing this customer that this is a quality product.
Right.
Yeah.
Perceptions are very hard to change because it is a mindset, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
Takes time,
Yeah.
takes time, but it's not hard.
Right.
So then what needs to be done is communication, constant communication. That's through advertising. Because if I have a good product, why do I keep it in the shop and not talk about it? If I have a good product, if I have a quality product that I know will meet the consumer needs, there's a very there's a burning need for me to talk about it, to make sure that the consumer actually goes to the shop and asks
tests
for
it as well. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
tests it and says, surely what they say in the advert is what is true.
Real. Right.
So perception has to be changed. But then again, in support of the Made in Rwanda initiative, does the consumer understand why they need to buy the Made in Rwanda? Not just about the quality of the product. There are other reasons. Why? One, creation of employment. Two, contribution to the taxes. Three, reduction of the trade deficit. Four, the value chain analysis.
Right.
There is a lot of an awareness that needs to be made, that it's not just about the product you're buying.
Right.
There's a lot more that's going around it than just the quality of the product. But then a challenge to the manufacturers, we ourselves, we need to step up.
Yeah.
We need to produce quality. The regulatory body is doing its job, Rwanda Bureau of Standards, and ensuring that we do give the consumer what it stipulates in terms of quality.
Perfect.
Yes.
And Hogan, I mean, talk to me a bit about the same question, because what I'm trying to understand here is this deliberate measures that have been taken by this or under this Made in Rwanda policy. For some people, they would say, this is unfair. You know, we seem to be giving it a head start ahead of other productions or other products that are coming from other places. We should give the consumer a choice, a fair playing ground. Let them decide what they want. One, we have, there have been amendments to the public procurement law to use government of Rwanda demand to promote local suppliers. So that means the government of Rwanda, when it is actually procuring for products, there is actually some added advantage. There's preferences. Local producers will now have 15% preference in their bid scores, provided they are able to demonstrate 30% local value addition. That's one of the things. So looking at this, deliberate measures.
But I think that's also necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a developing economy where you're trying to promote job growth in your own sectors, then trying to import something and have somebody undercut a local manufacturer who's producing as good a quality or better, and then being undercut on a price point because he's able to get it because somebody made too much of it at a certain time, I think that there should be some type of an advantage as far as going into and supporting local. If they can meet the standards, if they can meet all the terms and it's as good or better, I think that there should be an advantage for them. That is just something that I think, as far as local consumers, I'm going to put my product on the shelf. I'm going to make the advertising available. But the choice is always to the consumer. You will never find one of our spokespeople in any supermarket saying, you must buy our product. That's the terrible way to go about marketing.
Yeah, you can't go that direction.
But I may add also one thing, because people may sometimes they say, no, you are maybe preferring one product, you are whatever. But they forget two things. First of all, that person who is getting 15% preference to other, he has paid taxes in Rwanda.
Yes.
He has employed Rwandans who are paying taxes.
Yes.
Actually, the government may be getting even what he has got from the employees or whatever who have paid taxes.
There's a real possibility of that.
Actually, the government is building even for its taxes. The base for the taxes. Yeah. But also, in addition to that, there are some where we are not fair or whatever, but what the government is doing is trying to make the market competitive and fair enough. Because we may find that a product from another country which is subsidized or which is getting incentive to export,
yes,
which the local one company has not got. So it's better you put them on a fair, on the same level of competition. Yeah. And actually, I was also wanted to comment on the standards. People sometimes, because of a mindset or whatever we used to think, when they are saying Rwandan products are not good. But for me, I give them examples. When you go back to 1,000 years, because we are together, I can say, when you look at their products, when they are packaged, the standard is international.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are not going to come and say, no, he's privileged because he's in Rwanda. You can say the same product anywhere. But actually, our mindset where we now still want to work on as private sector federation or even at Rwandans is where we become fair to our business.
Right. Become fair.
Yeah.
Become fair to the businesses.
Yeah.
There are those who look at that policy and say, this seems to be a bit unfair. And they'll say there are certain tenders which will be reserved exclusively for local producers meeting the threshold that we mentioned above there. And other local companies are also eligible for a 10% preference. Now, we're talking about opening up of our regional borders.
Yeah.
And we're trying to say that, you know what, it's a free common market, bring in your products, free movement of people, goods and services. But we're seeing this in this policy, and there are those who argue and say this will disadvantage the other players in the region. And we're probably trying to force the consumer to just consume this and locking out a product that they probably could have taken from Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania. How do you explain this?
My reasoning is continuing as I was saying, is to make the market fair or competitive. Because when you go back, you say that the Rwandan's products or producers are now favored by the government. But because the government has realized some constraint they have which others don't have. Because when we are doing our researches, we have realized that the cost of production is maybe sometimes higher than the region. So you cannot say that that person is going to compete at the same level as the one who is going low cost of production. So it's better we take deliberate measures in order to solve issues we have identified. Maybe we are going to work on the side of cost, reducing the cost, but meanwhile, we should also help those people to stay in the market. And also in addition, it is not only Rwanda which is doing the main in Rwanda. Anywhere you go, you realize that people, they are now promoting their producers. The reason why is they are promoting producers. There are some political issues because you have employment. Employment is very challenging to all African, even international market, where we are saying that we have people who are not employed, and yet their money is going out to buy or to support the other
Bring
countries.
those jobs back here.
So even if you are going to get regional integration or whatever, we should also think about the people who are now buying those products.
Sarah?
I'd like to add to what he said. I don't think the issue of made in Rwanda is about stifling competition. It's about recognizing products made in Rwanda and saying, look here, we are going to promote you. This is an opportunity. Utilize it. Now, if the manufacturers are not able to meet that, then they cannot blame the government for not supporting. It is a great initiative that we manufacturers need to embrace and support and provide the services that will be given using that opportunity. But that doesn't mean that there are other products that will not come from within the region. I'm sure there are many other products that we cannot make locally that can get their way into this market. So I think it's a great initiative, not stifling competition, but allowing the local industry to grow.
So if the players don't take advantage of this, the government can pull the plug and say, you failed.
We don't know for how long the Made in Rwanda initiative will last. We better utilize this opportunity.
Right now.
Yes.
Hogan, I mean.
As far as I'm concerned, I look at it from this perspective. If I just take one of my bottles, I am getting all of my labels printed here locally. On our first batch, we imported them. And then we started looking at, okay, who has the capacity here locally to do the labels to the standard that we would like on our bottles. It was very easy to find them. They were readily available. Then we started looking at packaging. Who has the packaging lines that can print packaging to an international standard that can be put on the shelf in Hong Kong, Tokyo, New York, and Los Angeles. We found it available here in this country. That means that even our boxes for exports are locally made. I mean, we're looking at just the value chain of what we, from the farm all the way through to, other industries that we're trying to help support.
And so how do you explain to someone coming to rant at you and say, you have been given an added advantage, you're being given exclusive preference to actually supply this to the government? What would you tell them to actually, justify why you deserve this kind of preferences under this policy?
I don't think it's as far as a justification or deserving it. I think it's more that I think the government sees that I'm supporting 5 other local businesses. I'm supporting local farmers with our residual waste products. I support her business because I buy products from her company to clean my factories. These are all things that I'm helping the money stay in this country. You know, so I think that the government sees that as an added advantage. And that's what I think they're trying to promote. I think that that is where the end goal is actually at. Trying to promote where the money stays in the circles of businesses locally in Rwanda. Why, if you're going to put it for exporting or you're going to put it for, importation, you know, it's a lost cause. I mean, the money very rarely comes back in, you know, especially at that level.
Right. So, Theonest, we're talking about, earlier on, Sarah alluded to the fact that we don't know how long this policy will remain as it is, or these incentives will be as they are right now. So it's up to us to take advantage of this. From your projections, looking forward, as a spokesperson of the Made in Rwanda initiative and the Private Sector Federation, what timelines do we have?
Actually, when I'm discussing with people, I don't focus too much on the timeline we have of the Made in Rwanda, but we focus on the objective we have. Actually, what we want people to, or the producers in Rwanda, to be at the same level as the international. And as long as the government is thinking about encouraging our business community, it's going to continue. But for us, as he has said, we need to be very quick and also to get the opportunities we have already got and try to move faster, because we are going very far. Though we are now celebrating the 36% reduction in trade deficit, we are still having a trade deficit. So actually, though we have achieved some things, we still have a lot to be done. So I think for the government, though I'm not a spokesperson for the government, I think it is going to, because it has been always supporting business community, it is going to continue, but we have to seize the opportunities we have been given.
Seize the opportunity.
And also, I would also encourage the Rwandan business community to think that this is opportunity. Though it may last for 20 years, but actually you get it now, you are going to benefit for those 20 years. So if you are waiting for the 20 years or the 20th one, you are going to fail, because some have been benefiting for so long. And for the private sector also, for us, we are now taking initiatives to encourage people to continue producing, also to encourage those young ones to come to the market. And actually, when you look at the Rwandan business community at large, there are those SMEs, the small and medium enterprises, 2-3 people who are now struggling to build their businesses. If the government is not supporting them, they are going to fail. So the reason why those incentives they are giving, for me, I think they are good, but we need it also to get more and more. As on our side of private sector, we will continue to advocate. So we can get more and more. And if that 15%, if it is increased to 20%, we'll be happy.
You'll be happy. Right. Thank you. We're going to take a very short break. Move this conversation forward. When we come back, of course, we'll talk about that particular word that you all kept talking about. If we had a buzzer that would be buzzing every time that word comes up, it would have actually icked our ears. And that was the issue of mindset change, perception. We'll talk about how we change that, what is actually going on, plus, of course, the incentives that have already been given apart from the other ones. We'll be back to move this particular conversation forward. So keep talking to us. Be part of the conversation. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Right, welcome back. Thank you so much for still being with us right here on the program. We are talking about the evolution of the Made in Rwanda initiative and policy. Of course, in studio, I have Theonest, who's from the Made in Rwanda initiative. He's actually the spokesperson of that particular initiative, and also Sarah Matende from Trust Industry, the creators of the Clear brand of products, and also Daniel Hogan, co-founder, Thousand Hills Distilleries. When we went for that particular break, of course, we touched a bit on various issues. And I want us to talk a bit about that particular issue of mindset change. And some of the people who don't really buy into locally made products have always argued and said, we have our genuine fears, our genuine reasons as to why we opt to buy, other products from other particular countries. And I want to start with you, Theonest, here. The issue of quality has been an issue. And along the conversation that we had in the first break, we've talked about how we've been all up to your game in the quality. How have you measured that? How do you measure that particular point that say we've actually been improving on our quality? What sort of indicators here?
But actually, when they are saying the Rwandan products are not quality, it is, for most of the time, it is their mindset, how they perception. Because actually, most of the products we are now having on the market, they have their standard mark, being national, even there are those who have international marks.
Yeah.
And to get that standard marks, you don't get it just out of shelves. It's just you go to make some steps, and you get to the level where you are now going to deserve that standard.
Yeah. But the problem is they are of Rwandan standards.
Actually, it is not Rwandan standard.
Is it international standards?
When you go back to though I'm not a spokesman of the Rwandan board standard, for them what they are doing, they are not just saying we are going to make our own standard, which is good. Even sometimes, as on the side of the business people, we complain because they are saying we are setting the bar very high. Because we want this, how can you support? But for them, they are standard, they are international. Though they are now saying that it's Rwandan standard board, whatever. But for them, they are using international standard, they are not creating their own. They are not lowering even the requirements. Sometimes it is higher than the region we have, which is good for our consumers. But the issue is, which is there, is the perception. The perception. People, and also we have also another, on our side also as business community, we have also some challenges. People who are now buying products from outside, sometimes they buy them because they have been advertised. I remember there is one example, and I will not say the name of the product because I will be doing the marketing, which is not Rwandan. There is a product this time where you were listening to football matches, where you are listening to music, whatever. They are saying, whatever. Even children, they come, no, Daddy, can you buy this? Because they have been hearing it. And actually, when you go back, you realize that this product, when you test it, it is not better than those we have in Rwanda. But actually, because they have been talking about it, they created in the mind of people, this is very, very
something
special
really nice.
Actually, now our business community should also maybe, and also which is challenging also to fund the marketing campaigns, to change the mindset of people. Right. So we also have to try to find ways how we are going to advert and make people buy our products because we have talked about them.
Right. Sarah, I won't ask you whether there's a problem of perception, challenge, mindset issues, because I know the answer that you'll give me. So now what I need you to talk to us about is from where you sit at Trust Industries, what are you already doing and what sort of challenges are you facing in actually changing this particular mindset of, he talked of standards, that badge, that particular mark. If you put a product from another country which also has a standards mark, a quality standards mark, and you put a Rwandan product which also has the same, you find probably someone else would pick that product that is made from outside. Yet both have these standards. So standards is not particularly an issue, the mindset as you said. So what are you really doing in your space to change this?
There are two ways. There are two things we have to do. One, to change the perception is to talk to the mind of the consumer. You must talk to the mind of the consumer. But before you even get to the consumer, there is the trade channel. Because from the manufacturer, we go to the trade. My question to the trade would be, when you import products that have similar products that are locally made, what is going on in your mind as a trader? If I know that there are carpets that are made in Rwanda, but I still go to Turkey and get carpets, what is going on in my mind? So the challenge is, how do I make that trader to stock my product, yet they always make a monthly trip to a foreign country to get the same product? The trader has this reasoning that they need to give the consumer a choice, which is okay. We need to give the consumer a choice. But then as we give the consumer a choice, at what levels are we saying, even though I'm giving the consumer a choice, I'm going to reduce on imports and I'm going to support more of the local products? Because I think that's the direction.
So you reduce on your stock of what you've imported?
Exactly, and increase on the stock of the local. Because you're saying quality is not the issue.
But what if the consumer demands for more of that is brought from outside?
I'm coming to that. Yes. So first of all, we are talking about the trader. The trader, in terms of availing the product to the consumer, needs to ensure that what is locally made is in the stores. So that when the consumer, now I'm talking about the consumer, I walk into the shop, I have choice. But then as I have choice, we come back to the manufacturer. What am I doing to convince that consumer to choose me? There is product A, there is product B, there is product C. Same quality. How will the consumer, make a choice? I need to advertise as a manufacturer. I need to tell people, my name is Sarah, I am made in Rwanda, I have good quality, please buy me. And have to shout about it shamelessly to as many people as possible so that the message gets into the head. Every day, if a child hears about, I'll talk about my brand, Clear, 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 every day. They'll grow up knowing that I have to buy Clear, I have to use Clear, I have to, when I go to the shop, I have to, Clear, Clear is the brand. So it has to be a repetitive message every day.
But it comes at a cost.
It comes at a cost.
How
but
much
it is,
roughly?
It is a business cost that has to be incurred.
It's a business cost that has to be incurred.
Yes.
How much roughly? Just estimates that you take for a proper campaign that would actually make people change their mindset and perception.
If I have to do a proper campaign for a product that is, say it's on a product cycle is entering maturity, I'll need $500 million.
$500 million?
Yes, to do a proper
Rwandan
campaign in 1 year, yes. I'll need that kind of capital and say this is the expense I'm going to do for advertising, especially for mass products like we do.
Right, but not everybody can afford $500 million.
This is true. I kind of look at it from a different perspective. I think, yes, there is the perception that some people think that it's not quality if it's made here. But I think that goes back to what packaging looks like or looked like 10 years ago. If you go back and you look at what products were being packaged and how they were being presented to the market, I think, and you look at how now things are being presented to the market, everybody had to step their game up. And I think that that was one of the things that we kind of had a reverse on this because we said, okay, we need to be able to sell our product in New York City, London, and Hong Kong. It needs to be able to, we can export it on day one to these countries and to these cities and put it on the shelf and compete at that international level. So we had to go for elegance and we had to go for something that would look right and wouldn't look out of place on the shelf. And I think that that is a lot that was, you know, coming back to, let's say, 5-10 years ago on the supermarket shelves. You're looking at, okay, it was made in Rwanda, but it was not as good a quality in the packaging. The product inside could have been superior, but if the outside doesn't look nice, I mean, unfortunately, we grow up in a materialistic world. If it doesn't look eye-appealing, then you're going to miss it. You're going to miss that opportunity to sell that.
Right. The costs. Talk about the cost implication here.
Well, the cost implication is it can be substantially more. I mean, you can wind up spending 100% more on packaging that looks and expresses to your client that they're getting that premium product. And that is honestly where I think that this whole Made in Rwanda trend has actually uplifted because it is literally taken the brands that were promoting their products 5 or 10 years ago and raised it because they've had to compete in that market segment to where I've got to look as good as the competition that's being imported. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it.
Right. And to be honest, they've talked about big bucks, big money. And we're talking about SMEs who are also trying to jump into this bandwagon, who, when they hear $500 million, they'll probably faint 2 times, rise up, and then still faint again. That's just a huge amount of money. We talked about, Hogan has spoken about 100% of your operation costs. You might actually end up probably using more than that. What is this policy speaking or doing to young SMEs that are also saying we want to be part of the Made in Rwanda, reduce this trade deficit by producing, but we do not have that kind of amount to change the perception of people?
As she said, maybe the billion or $500 million is, she was saying, is for mass production. And which is good also. They have to, I really appreciate what they are doing in the marketing, which is good for even other community business, because sometimes we learn from the others who are now in the market. But for those small and medium enterprises, what we are now doing, the Made in Rwanda policy was trying to, on the specific area of mindset, there are some activities which are going to be conducted. One of the main of those activities is the Made in Rwanda Expo. Because there are some people who are now coming in for them, they are saying, I'm producing sugarcane juice. Of quality, which is there's nothing other, chemical added, but no one knows where they are now doing their goods. But actually, what we are now doing is in the Made in Rwanda, we are going to help them to maybe to come to exposure to make their market on the market their product known. And one of the achievements you have got with the Made in Rwanda policies that we have now already conducted 4 Made in Rwanda exhibitions, which have helped people to maybe to access the market. But actually, we now realize that it is not enough. Because an event of 1 week or 2 weeks in a year, it cannot change the mind of people. But sometimes to make people understand what is going on. But what we now are doing as the private sector, we are trying to encourage those SMEs to partner with others. Because actually the trend which is on global market, people want to join their effort to get more capital to invest. But in our Rwandan culture, you want to own everything. You want to produce, you have to produce the packaging, the products, even you do the marketing, you go to the distribution. So what we are now encouraging people is that they have to start thinking about value chains, where I may agree to produce just juice, knowing that there's someone who has to go to market it or to distribute it. So now we are trying to change that mindset of the business community.
That they can converge, they can work together. They can work together. I see Sarah holding her chin. And I'm trying to understand how practical that will be. Sarah, who would you be partnering with in this sense to make this
There's
work?
a lot going on in my mind. First of all, I want to qualify the statement I made earlier about the budget. When I talk about $500 million, it's on the scale of what I think can make an effective campaign for what I do. But then for an SME, the budget will be different, not to the scale of $500 million, because then they are doing something that is different from what we do.
Even their capacity of
their
production.
capacity of production does not match.
So what's the picture of partnership? How would it look like?
First of all, I'm thinking about the Made in Rwanda Expo, and I just want to throw a question to be honest. Attendance, it is free of charge. How come we don't see as many consumers walking in and testing the products as the other international? Exactly.
Or does it need also to be repackaged?
That's the question. That's what was going through my mind.
Actually, the challenge we are now having is the challenge that we have started with the mindset. Even if you are saying that you have a Made in Rwanda exhibition, the people who are going to attend, there are those one who knows that Rwandan product don't exist. Because sometimes there are people who are coming and say, oh, can we have this in Rwanda? No, you are lying. Because they don't accept that a good product can be produced in Rwanda. If you are saying that you have recapture, which can be exported to US or whatever, they say, no, you are lying. They are buying some products from outside, they package it in Rwanda.
But to be honest, the coin always has two sides. That's one of the sides of the coin. You have tried to say that probably it's mostly because people who think that this can't happen are the ones who don't really come to that particular place. Now, what do you think is not being done right in the correct way, probably?
Actually, what we are missing.
What are you missing?
And actually, and it was what I was saying. It's a constant activity of making those products known to the community. Not an event which is once a year. So once we can maybe, and also that becomes also another challenging of financing that activity, where we may have like 4 or 5 events on an annual basis, which are going to talk to the community, to the consumers. They know that every time you go once in 2 months,
you'll find them there.
But also on the other side, we are now happy. We are now seeing that there is a trend. Because by the first time when we had that Made in Rwanda, when you look at the people who came, just we were sitting and seeing one, you say, oh, I'm happy he's coming. The second one, the third one. But actually now they started changing. And maybe within 2 to 3 years,
things will be better.
Things will be better. And also we have the opportunities like now we are talking about Made in Rwanda. People start thinking that maybe let's go and try.
And see what is happening. Hogan, what sort of radical moves, measures do you think should be done to change this whole animal that we keep talking about, negative perception, mindset issues?
I'm not certain that it is really that negative. I think that, I mean, anytime you say something that has, oh, it's negative, is it really? It's market competition. We're trying to provide for and grow a market that can be competitive internationally. And I think that that's really what the Made in Rwanda thing is about, is promoting your products to a level that you're holding them to a higher standard. And I think that that's where this is actually going. As I said, I think a lot of products have really upped their game, especially locally. I mean, if I look at the packaging, of other industries and I say, okay, what it was 7 years ago, it's looking much better. It has a much better feel on the shelf. When you walk past it, it kind of goes, hey, buy me. You know?
And when I was asking you about the issue of the SMEs getting money to actually support them in marketing, I was trying to expect to hear probably the policy says that for financial institutions, this is what you need to do to support these SMEs. Is there something like that?
Actually, in the policy, there was some consideration on the marketing, supporting people to make, like packaging, also to improve packaging, even to establish a packaging unit or whatever, which is going to help those SMEs to get packaging materials which are of the quality which is needed on the market. And also there is another, some units which are in the policy. I hope they are going to be established very soon. Like we have consumers units or promotion or whatever, and the marketing unit, it is also talked about in the policy. And I hope we launched it in this last year, 2018. We are not have not yet got the full.
So there'll be a study to check the impact.
And we have not benefited at 100% from the policy, because there are some other steps which are going to be implemented. And we are now at the beginning, and we hope we are going also to deal with those issues. And even on my side, or the PSF side, maybe we may advocate so that we can get support on the marketing side, because it is, as she said, though maybe we may not use the billions, but when you look at a product, the percentage of marketing should be higher than what we are now using.
Right.
Because sometimes we realize people, they are saying, no, for me, I produce, anyone who passes at my shop, he can get it, but I don't have money to advertise
that. Sarah, the question of consistency is also an issue. You know, first years of production, you are top-notch. You know, you have stuff that is to die for. And then with time, the quality is compromised. But these products continue to still have that label of the Rwanda Bureau of Standards, Standards Board. Talk to me about how this is impacting probably this whole issue that we probably are talking about as a mindset issue, and yet probably it's a reality on the ground, that I first started consuming your products, and then eventually with time, it just lost its path as far as quality is concerned.
Okay. I do not totally agree with you on that statement, because I think when you're starting, I think things are a bit hazy, so the quality may not be up to scratch. But as you go on producing, the quality should improve. So it should be the reverse. But then in terms of being consistent about quality, it's very important that a manufacturer remains consistent, especially for consumables, the areas that we deal in, because one, there are health implications, there are standards implications. What if you lose that standard that you have worked so hard to get from Rwanda Bureau of Standards? So when I look at a manufacturer whose standards are not consistent, I think that's someone who is driving himself out of business. And I think that should not be the case in the manufacturing sector. I'm looking at the reverse, where you improve with time. That as you continue to produce, then you're improving, because we are looking at playing on the regional market, playing on the international market. We cannot do that if our standards are declining and consumers are complaining.
And I fully agree with her. I think, you know, if I look at just my whiskey product, day one, when we started distilling 5 years ago, whiskey was clear as water. Now I've let it sit, it started aging, it gets better with time. Everything gets better, I think, over time if you focus on it. And if that is your focal point, then I think your product will grow. I mean, point in case, we were actually approached by RDB to help someone, another SME, that wanted to come into the market. And we said, well, what do they want to bring? I was quite intrigued. I was like, okay, are they bringing more alcohol? Or I didn't know what they were going to bring. But I got the call, and I was like, sure, I'll have a chat with them, no problem. Started a perfume business here. Well, perfume needs high-quality alcohol. They came to us to look at making their alcohol for their perfume. So, you know, I think it was a nod in our favor, and also I love helping support another made in Rwanda business. You know, if I can help that, great, you know, and they're also helping support me. They're buying my product.
So this is that picture of the partnerships that we're talking
about.
Right. Tunis, this spoken about the fact that it has to be the other way around as far as the quality appreciation and depreciation is concerned. We have examples. People have actually been complaining. I won't mention today, but I've had people say that there are certain juice brands
which
that started when they were very thick, nice, pulpy, you know.
Yeah.
But today the quality has deteriorated. When you pour it on the glass, you'll think that you're pouring, you know, water.
Yeah.
But they still have that standards quality mark. So how do you demystify that argument of saying that people are actually reducing their quality, and it's also partly contributing to the reason why people don't want to consume locally?
On one side, I may say that maybe that may happen because people are not perfect. They may have some issues. Even they may do it deliberately, or even the technical challenges they are having. But the good thing is in Rwanda that we are not issuing those standards for once. There are sometimes they come to check if what you have been doing is still the same. And the good thing is Rwanda is a very small country. You may not hide yourself for a longer period. So I hope maybe where there are those challenges may be technical, which they are now dealing with those challenges. But on the other side, for ensuring the Rwandan consumers, myself also I'm a consumer and I consume those products, is it that our standard, when they are getting our standard mark, it is not a once issued. They are continuing to monitor how people they are doing their good things, how they can, even you may use it. As she has said, you may use it and you leave the market. So I hope we are going to continue to improve our capacity of producing quality goods. And also, we are for ourselves, also we want to build capacity. Because though we don't have enough resources, we should have to have all Rwandan producers come and get their trainings on quality standard or whatever. But there are some good initiatives now which are in place, where there is one which is having the Rwandan name where Kurana standards, go with the standards, where they start with small medium enterprises which are now starting to be producing. They help them to continue getting the standard required so they can compete
move to the next level. And you mentioned the word international, competing international, and I want us to take this round, it's sort of a parting shot round of submissions. Hogan, you're talking about playing in the league of the international level, and I want to hear your thoughts, probably from where you sit. What are those teething problems or challenges that you think you need to be fixed so that you're able to take this Rwandan brand of 1,000 Hill Distilleries beyond just where you're reaching right now?
Well, one of our best things is we've been invited to the International Spirits Competition in San Francisco, and we've also just been asked to supply bottles for the Whiskey Bible by Jim Murray, and we're thrilled. I mean, I hope that they think that they're quality products as well. I mean, but obviously, that's also a nod in the direction. That is a step in the right direction. We have our bottles for sale internationally. We're in Europe. We're working to get into the United States, a little bit more difficult, just because it's also they're looking to also kind of protect their own whiskey bourbon market. So you have to meet certain standards before you're even allowed to export into the United States, and you have to have partners that you work with over there. So we see it as, I think this whole thing about the Made in Rwanda, I think it's actually a good initiative, and I really was kind of glad to see it happening right as we had just started. I mean, we started our distillation operations in January 2014, and come 2015, there's this program for supporting Made in Rwanda. I was like, well, this is fabulous. It wasn't something that we knew was coming. So I thought it was a great initiative, and I think it still is.
Good. Sarah, moving forward, how do you go beyond just producing for Rwanda and going beyond? What is still needed here?
Made in Rwanda is a great initiative in terms of ensuring that the consumer embraces locally made products. But then we don't have to stop there. We need to go into our neighbors' markets. We need to be in the regional market. And who knows, become an African brand and a global brand at whatever level. The thing is, if we are going to get to that level, what does it require for us to beat the competition? Because competition is not just what is imported. Competition is what else is in the market his product is a competitor to mine, because when a consumer walks into the supermarket, they have to make a choice whether they are going to buy serviettes or they are going to buy a bottle of rum. So how do you...
They should buy both.
Exactly. How do we position ourselves in the eyes of the consumer so that we are able to be picked from the shelf? For me, that's the biggest challenge, that we need to talk more about our products. We need to shout. It doesn't matter that you're small or big. I'm now talking about the whole manufacturing sector, even the cottage industry. Someone who makes good quality groundnuts. I need to be able to walk into a supermarket and buy groundnuts and say, tomorrow I'll go back and buy that brand because I liked it. But then how will I know that it's a good brand? Quality, consistency, the things that we've spoken about. We need to overcome all these, and in the eyes of the consumer, just appear to be good quality. And I think that will set us off. Yes.
We have only 2 minutes to go, probably 1.5. Do we need a godfather or a godmother who will go to help you penetrate the international and regional markets?
No.
If you're a locally based, you know,
what is needed to help the Rwandan business community to remove barriers which are preventing them to export, like cost of transport. When they're exporting outside, we need to get a fair cost of transport. There are other non-tariff barriers or tariff barriers which are in our region. And for us, we are continuing to work on those. Then we may help those Rwandan products to even to lower cost, because the imported goods or raw materials are getting here very expensive because they are transport costs involved. But we want to work with the government and the regional government so that it can lower the cost, so that we allow Rwandan's product to be exported and also to import on affordable costs or maybe prices when we are importing from our raw materials.
Perfect. That's all the time.
I have
you have one. Very quick. Squeeze it in real quick.
Very quickly. We wouldn't have products in China right now that are sitting with the Alibaba initiative that was part of the Made in Rwanda. Our products are sitting there now. Our coffee liqueurs are there in China right now as we speak. And I know that they wouldn't be in China today if it wasn't for the Made in Rwanda initiative.
So there are efforts, deliberate efforts to support this drive. Thank you for making time to be part of this very interesting conversation. We'll be looking forward to talk up again and gauge the quality of what you're producing today versus what you've been producing over the time. And thank you for being a part of this conversation. Of course, to our viewers, thank you also for making time to be part of this conversation. We'll see you again next time. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe, signing off.